Today on Questions, let's get political. Hey everybody, welcome to Questions. This is a series where we answer questions you ask either through YouTube or Instagram at our Instagram page, The Comb Mutual, or here on YouTube on my personal YouTube page, Brennan Johnson. And basically, you can ask any question about faith, spirituality, religion, philosophy, theology, what have you. Basically, what does it mean to be human? And we try to answer these questions to the best of our ability, probably pretty unsatisfactory. As we say in previous videos, this is not supposed to be the final word. This is the first word. We are just trying to create sparks of conversation and thought. We're not telling you how to think. We're just trying to introduce topics to get the ball rolling in your own lives. So for today, we are on episode 7. And the question is, why do conservative politics seem so wrapped up into Christianity? And so this question was actually asked in a lot of different forms by a lot of different people. And in later episodes, we might even have overlap with this episode because so many people's questions had to do with politics or political thoughts or movements and topical issues. And so, there's probably going to be a lot of overlap, and this will be a great kind of anchor episode for a lot of different political topics we'll be talking about throughout the series. But I think, it's important because topical issues and political issues are really important topics and issues. So conservative politics seems so wrapped up in Christianity, mainly because politics are so wrapped up in human life. I would say that it's probably within the last 40-ish years, and I know that I'm not a master of history, I just have no interests other than reading, but I would say it's probably within the last 40-ish years, that there has been a narrative pushed that says to really be Christian, you have to be a Republican, or you have to be conservative. And that hasn't always been the case. Like I said, it's only within the last 40-ish years that this has kind of been heard by people. If you take Jimmy Carter, who was president, in the late 70s, he was maybe one of the most progressive presidents we have ever had. He put solar panels on the White House. And no one doubts that Jimmy Carter is a Christian, because that just wasn't part of the narrative back then. But I would say where you first kind of start hearing this and getting this idea is during Reaganism. The narrative that to be Christian means you have to be Republican or you have to be conservative is really kind of around Reaganism. And I won't blame Reagan completely. A bunch of people did this. It was a large movement of other people. But Reagan's not innocent in this either. He definitely played up the idea that he was the Christian choice. And if someone starts saying, vote for me because I'm the Christian choice, well, then you have to think then that the other person is not the Christian choice. I can remember when I was, I went to a Christian college for 1 year. And it was during 2011, during the election between Obama and Mitt Romney. And it was really, really rough because the school I was going to was a conservative evangelical school. And so much of the conversation didn't come down to policies or anything that actually mattered. It was who was actually the Christian. And even though Obama, throughout his biography, his presidency, and interviews, has talked about his Christian faith and even his evangelical upbringing and how much that church meant to him and that these ideas mean to him and how he still attends church, everyone at Northwestern, almost everyone in Northwestern, seemed to think that was a lie or just didn't matter. And so they would all say to each other, well, I'm voting for Romney because Romney's the Christian choice, even though Romney is a Mormon. And we can have the debate about Mormons and are they Christian or not Christian. That's a whole other thing. But if you're at an evangelical school and you want to make a decision on who is closer to your beliefs in and about God for who you want to vote for president, it would make sense that you would vote for the evangelical at the evangelical school. But because Obama was a Democrat, he wasn't a Christian, and Romney was. And then the day after the election, when Romney lost, everyone was going, well, Romney was a Mormon anyways. And there was just me going, yeah, he was 2 days ago as well when he was still running for president. That hasn't changed. Always been a Mormon. But that kind of thing just seeps into people, and it's been a narrative that the Republican Party, the conservatives, have really pushed for years now and decades. But it's also important to note that it's not all of Christianity has bought this sort of lie. And on the flip side, not all Republicans have tried to sell this lie, or conservatives have tried to sell this lie. There are Christians who don't believe you have to be a Republican to be a Christian. There are Republicans who believe that you don't have to be a Christian to be a Republican. It's not universal. It's just well documented. But there are liberal sects of Christianity. There are liberal areas of this faith. There are liberal Christians, progressive Christians, socialist, Marxist, communist, libertarian, Republican, conservative, whatever. If there is a political belief, there is a political belief Christian. If there is a philosophical thought, there's a philosophical thought Christian. Any political belief, any philosophy, any economic standard, you can have that, and someone has put it into the Christian faith. Meaning that we can have the debate on if you're really a Christian or you're not a Christian, but anything fits into Christianity if the core of that belief in Christianity is I follow Jesus. It only seems like conservative Christianity is so large. It only seems that conservative evangelical Christianity is so prevalent and huge because large sections of the evangelical conservative church have wed themselves to the Republican movement. And again, it's not universal, but it's only because these two groups have really wed their movements and their ideologies together that it has seemed so large. When you have one of the two large political parties in your country predominantly spouting thoughts of this church, it's going to seem like that church is a lot bigger and a lot more prevalent and the standard for Christianity in general. But it's not universal. Again, take it as you will in terms of are they actually Christian or just putting on a public face. But the Clintons go to a church, are members of a church, have actually taught, at least they've said in interviews, they teach Sunday school and Bible studies at their church. Again, Obama grew up in the evangelical church, claims to still go to church. Biden, pretty prevalent Catholic, and though their churches accept them because their churches are not conservative. And so again, you can disagree or agree with what they believe, but what they believe is second to do they believe in Jesus. If you want to go around and start talking about is this person actually a Christian, is Biden a Christian because he has these liberal beliefs, you got to also address, is Trump Christian because he had affairs and 3 wives? And I won't talk about if Trump is Christian or not because I won't talk about if Biden is Christian or not, or if Obama is Christian or not. You can't, if you're going to judge one candidate on their faith, you have to judge them all, or you judge none. The thing that boggles my mind is that somehow someone's faith is going to make them a better or worse president. And I just don't believe that. Take this into consideration. There is a large portion of far right conservative people in this country who actually believe that Obama lied about being a Christian and was actually a Muslim. There's no evidence, but that's what they believe. But even if he was, the country's still standing. It's been 5 years. You can say you don't like his policies and the things he did, but there was no spiritual ramifications that ruined the whole thing. You know, we're still standing. You're still going to church. If you're a church-going person, you're still not going to church if you weren't a church-going person. You know, it works both ways. If he was a Muslim, the country's still standing. People are still using their religious liberties to practice the faith they want. So, does that really matter then? It might matter in terms of how you want to think about him in terms of being a liar. But if he was a Muslim, he did just as good a job as president as if he was a Christian. Oh no, I said it. Like it just doesn't matter. And especially, you know, let's get away from the political, but in terms of actual belief in something larger than this world, in the supernatural, in the spiritual, in the divine, in the creator of the universe, and all of that, how could it doesn't matter what we think about this world nearly as much as what we think about the divine. Like I said, there are socialist, Marxist, communist, libertarian, Republican, conservative, progressive. There is an entire spectrum of people who see themselves as Christians. And they can argue whether the other side are actually Christians or not. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what these human things are that you believe, nearly as much as it matters of what do you think about the Creator. What do you think about the divine? What do you think about God? And if you agree that there is something bigger in this world and you want to follow that thing and you want to grow closer to that thing, then I don't think the Creator, I don't think God, I don't think the divine, I don't think whatever you want to call it, the spark of life, I don't think that thing cares as much, but if you are a socialist or a Republican. And sure, maybe one is closer and one is not, but they both got their faults, don't they? You know? They're both not perfect. Because we're not perfect. So, why do conservative politics seem so wrapped up in Christianity? Because conservatives and Christians who like conservative policies have made it wrapped up. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. We shouldn't wrap up our liberal ideas into our faith. We shouldn't wrap up our conservative ideas into our faith. We shouldn't be socialist Christians or Republican Christians. We should be Christians who are socialist or Christians who are Republican. If your faith is hinged upon your political beliefs, you got a crappy faith. No other way around it. If your faith is so hinged that Donald Trump is your Lord and Savior, then you're not a Christian, you're a Trumpian. The human things we believe don't matter nearly as much as the spiritual things. So, that's what I got. Hope that was helpful. Like I said, you can always be asking us questions, always be DMing, messaging, commenting, however it works, wherever you're seeing this. We always want to be accepting more questions. We're always going to be trying to answer more questions. So, thanks for watching this. Grace and peace. Cheers.